stocks and markets.
So this week, the best performing super funds for the financial year 2024 were released. Hot off the press, Ren, we have the top 10 here.
Now, these are growth funds.
Yes.
So we have said, don't worry about balanced and conservative. If we want to see best performing, we should be looking at those that are optimized for growth.
Yeah.
Optimized for performance.
Yeah.
Now, for context, the ASX 200 returned 7.8%, and the S&P 500 over in the States returned 22.7% in the same time period.
Yeah.
So with that context, Bryce, which way do you want to go? Do you want to go top to bottom, or do you want to build up to the best performer?
Let's build up to the best performer. Let's start with the median.
Nice.
Which was pretty impressive. So the median for all super funds surveyed in the growth category was 9.1%. So outperforming the ASX 200, but well below that of the S&P 500. So not bad. You would take that over a 20-year period.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, you can't compare it to the S&P 500 when they're benchmarked against the ASX.
I don't subscribe to that view, but sure. If the super funds should just
True. It's an
make
option.
me money.
It's an option that you have to invest in if you weren't in that super fund.
Yeah.
Fair. We'll bring that up with.
Yeah, we've got a few views on this. Anyway, so coming in at number 10 was Aware Super at 9.6%. But let's move to the top 5. So equal fifth was Mercer Growth and Qantas Super, both 10.1% for the financial year. Coming in at number 4 was Brighter Super, 10.6%. And then we had 3 sharing the gold prize. We had IOOF Balance Investor Trust, the Colonial First State First Choice Super, and Mine Super at number 1, all 10.7%.
Wow, there you go. 3 equal winners. Mine Super, which is for coal miners, I believe, an industry super fund, and then Colonial First State and IOOF.
Second year in a row that Mine Super has taken top spot.
Yeah.
So good to see. If you look at the 10-year returns, the top 10 are made up of all industry super funds, and Host Plus actually takes the number 1 spot for total 10-year returns at 8.3% per annum over the last 10 years. So if you're in Host Plus, you're doing pretty well. And the Australian Retirement Trust comes in at number 2 over the last 10 years, 8.1%.
Well, Bryce, I think you've just cut the next industry super fund ad read based on that stat. That's surprising to me.
That they're all industry super funds.
That all 10 of the top performing growth funds over the past 10 years are industry.
Why is that surprising?
Because, it shouldn't be that industry super funds don't have some, crazy investment edge. They have lower fees on average, but they shouldn't take all top 10 spots.
I guess so.
Are you not surprised by that?
Not
there is no reason that an industry super fund should have this level of outperformance across the category, you know?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I have no reason for it.
Especially because a lot of the industry super funds are bigger, and in general, bigger funds find it harder to continue their outperformance.
Well, it'll be interesting to see the next 5 years if that holds, because there's definitely some in this year's top 10 that are not super funds that have performed.
That are not industry
super funds. And some of those industry super funds aren't in this year's top 10.
Yes.
So riddle me that.
Yeah. I guess the 2 arguments around why they all are industry super funds in the top 10 are, first of all, it just reinforces what we say about fees.
Yeah.
Fees matter,
yeah.
Especially when a lot of these funds kind of track or hug the index. The difference in fees make a big difference. And secondly, when we talk about super, potentially the bigger they get, the better deal flow they have, the better access to private investments, and maybe that is where their edge comes from.
Yeah.
But look, my final takeaway, Bryce, all of these super funds have done very well. None of them have done well as VDHG.
That's correct. So we had a look. If you were to just take your super fund and invest it in Vanguard Diversified High Growth Index through a number of platforms that allow you to do that, it has returned just shy of 13% over the last 12 months. So over that same time period. So
And that's not a Vanguard special thing. I'm sure if you looked at BetaShares, DHHF, any of those like globally diversified one ETF funds, they would have done well. So take of that what you will. Let's keep moving.
That's right. We'll unpack more on that. But something else that is caught our attention is the Sun Cable project, Ren, is back on the table.
Yes. Now, for people who are unfamiliar, this was backed by Twiggy Forrest and Mike Cannon-Brookes, the two Aussie billionaires. They wanted to build one of the world's largest solar farms, about 800 kilometers outside of Darwin in the Northern Territory. I think it was 10 gigawatts and like 12,000 hectares of solar panels. And they wanted to generate electricity there, transport it via overhead cables, 800 kilometers to Darwin, and then on a 4,200 kilometer undersea cable, transport that electricity to Singapore, where they plan to provide the city-state, 20% of the city-state's electricity needs.
It's crazy.
Now, that was the project. Mike Cannon-Brookes and Twiggy had a bit of a falling out, and the project actually went into receivership, I think last year, 2023. Twiggy wanted to keep the electricity onshore and convert it into hydrogen as part of his hydrogen plans. Cannon-Brookes wanted the original plan to go ahead. It kind of felt like the project had died. So we were all very surprised to see yesterday when the project in its original form to transport the electricity to Singapore got environmental approval. And apparently it's on track for 2027 still.
Crazy. The thing that frustrates me a little bit is that it's going to, as you said, 20% of Singapore's power.
Why does that frustrate you?
Well, bring it home.
Yeah.
We could do with that.
I think, let's not get too far into this rabbit hole, but poles and wires become very fraught in terms of how you build renewable projects, how you connect it to the grid in Australia and stuff like that. And potentially it's easier to build a 4,200 kilometer undersea cable than it is to deal with Australia.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. But look, it's not like there's not a whole bunch of renewable projects happening in Australia.
No, of course, yeah. Well, at the same time that news came out, Ren, Fortescue came out and said that they're slashing 700 jobs and Twiggy's hydrogen dream is effectively over for now. So, tough times for Twiggy.
Yeah, the Australian market and the Australian Energy Market Operator (AEMO) also came out and said they didn't think the nuclear plan was a good one as well. So that's not a political statement. That's just a reality of the plan and our needs in the next 20 years statement.
Yeah. Anyway,
final thing, just to touch on the news of Drone Shield. It fell 30% in a day, recovered a little bit, was down 20% in one day. Then the next day it fell about 20% again. So we should touch on it because a lot of people have invested in Drone Shield. A lot of people have enjoyed the ride. It was up over 400% year to date, even after the fall. Nothing fundamentally changed about Drone Shield. There was a couple of short sellers who came out publicly and a couple of news articles that were written about it being overvalued, which, is fair.
Yeah.
It certainly looks expensive.
Yeah.
But it's growing. So if you're invested in Drone Shield, if you're watching Drone Shield, nothing fundamentally changed. It's just market sentiment. I have no idea where it goes from here.
People will take the opportunity to buy in.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's news and views. Let's move on.
I will say this about investing. Everything you do learn is cumulative. What I learned at 20 is useful.